So, hello everybody, welcome to our discussion and the preview of our book. It's Puppetry and Ecology in Indonesia. I'm Laura Noslopi and I was a member of the research project on enabling Wayang with Royal Holloway, University of London, and I will introduce my co-host Mariana Lis, speaking from Poland.
Halo, selamat datang di diskusi dan book preview Puppetry dan Ekologi di Indonesia. Nama saya Mariana Lis, saya dari Polandia dan saya wayang researcher. Dan ini teman saya Laura Noslopi dari Inggris yang bekerja sebagai project manager di Project Enabling Wayang.
Okay, so we'll start. We've got lots of guests who've come to speak today. The discussion is divided into two parts. The first is mostly about the source book that we produced as part of our research project, Wayang sebagai Media Ekologi, Buku Pintar Kreativitas pada Masa Perubahan Iklim. And we've invited researchers and authors who contributed to the book to speak about their research and their practice.
Acara kami akan dibagi menjadi dua bagian. Yang pertama akan tentang buku pintar, Wayang sebagai media ekologi, buku pintar kreativitas pada masa perubahan iklim. Kami mengundang para peneliti dan penulis yang berkontribusi pada buku ini untuk berbicara tentang penelitian dan praktik mereka.
Yeah, and in the second part, some of the artists and performers who are featured in the source book will speak about their work and discuss how contemporary wayang and puppetry can address ecological issues and the current climate crisis.
Di bagian berikutnya, beberapa seniman yang ditampilkan dalam buku pintar ini akan bicara karyanya dan berdiskusi bagaimana wayang kontemporer dan teater boneka kontemporer bisa menghadapi masalah-masalah lingkungan hidup dan krisis iklim yang kita hadapi sekarang.
Okay, and at the end we're going to invite participants to ask questions of our guests, and you can write your questions in the chat window on the side of Zoom during the discussion, and we will select a few and ask them directly to the guests, and this is to save time because we have a lot of speakers today to fit in.
Pada akhir diskusi, kita mengajak para penonton untuk bertanya pada tamu kita. Silakan menulis pertanyaan Anda di kolom chat sewaktu diskusi menjalan. Karena waktunya terbatas, kita akan memilih beberapa pertanyaan yang akan dibalas.
And now to kick us off, we're very honoured to have our first guest, who is Hugh Moffat, who's country director at the British Council Indonesia. And he's going to make a brief introduction now to the project, because the British Council were good enough to be funders on our research project and made this all possible. So Hugh, are you there?
Hello, yes, hi. Selamat malam semua, Bapak, Ibu, teman-teman. Saya Hugh Moffat dari British Council. Mohon maaf, saya harus bicara di bahasa Inggris, but sedikit di bahasa mulai. Okay, so thank you. Firstly, can I say congratulations to Institute Seni Indonesia and the Royal Holloway and New Bedford College for this amazing social science project. It's great to see that within the Newton Fund, which is a science-based partnership program, that we have social science represented. So great to see arts, culture, environment brought together. Can I just check, do you want to translate that, or do you want to shall we just carry on?
That's a good point for me to try and translate. Terima kasih pada tamu-tamu yang terhormat yang berkumpul hari ini. Kata Hugh, bagaimana ya? Newton Fund dan British Council senang sekali kalau lihat funding penelitian yang biasanya dipakai untuk sains sekarang bisa dipakai untuk proyek yang mengikat sains sama sains sosial sama budaya dan kesenian juga, biar ada sisi atau perspektif lain. Okay.
Terima kasih, Bu. And this is one of 23 partnerships between Indonesia and the UK that's been supported in the last 4 years. And the important point here is that partnership is with government of Indonesia, but through Ristek BRIN that's enabled such partnerships to carry on.
Oke, ini salah satu dari 23 partnership, bagaimana
Hubungan.
perjodohan, bukan partnership yang didorong dan didukung oleh pemerintah Inggris dan dana dari pemerintah Inggris, tapi juga didukung dari Ristek yang adalah Departemen Pemerintahan Indonesia.
Terima kasih, Bu. So what we're seeing with these partnerships are 3 benefits particularly, and those are the fact that we have journals or publications in international journals, or publications such as this book. We see partnerships for early career researchers and opportunities, and obviously research outcomes as a result of these partnerships.
Okay, yang kita lihat adalah 3 manfaat dari proyek partnership seperti ini. Ada jurnal internasional dan publikasi yang lain seperti buku ini, dan juga ada kesempatan untuk belajar atau memaju untuk bagaimana orang akademis yang awal dalam karirnya misalnya, dan untuk mahasiswa-mahasiswi yang lain.
And so we come to this partnership where, again, the relevance is we are all facing and adapting to COVID. But what's great about this partnership is the fact that it's so relevant today as we look at the challenges of climate change, and as we look towards COP26 next year as an opportunity to highlight some of the issues facing communities.
Okay, dan yang bagus tentang proyek ini, sambil kita masing-masing berusaha mengadaptasikan ke situasi COVID di dunia, juga sangat relevan di situasi masa kini dengan perubahan iklim yang berdampak untuk semua kita. Ini juga relevan dalam konteks COP26, konferensi internasional yang terletak tahun ini di Inggris. Bagaimana? Ya, ini pokoknya sangat relevan untuk masa kini.
And so the source book that you've developed here will be a useful resource for artists, educationalists, and environmentalists. It's a resource and source for Indonesia based on engagement with local communities, which will be highly sought after next year, I imagine, as a source for raising the issues in Indonesia and beyond. So I'd like to congratulate you all for your relevance.
Terima kasih, thank you. Dan buku pintar ini akan menjadi sumber daya yang sangat berguna untuk Indonesia dan untuk komunitas bagaimana artis, saintifik yang mendidik, dan komunitas lokal, dan pada tahun-tahun depan pasti sangat berguna untuk menghadapi persoalan seperti perubahan iklim yang sangat penting di masa kini.
Thank you. And just finally, just also to mention, next year, and I'm sorry for the translation, but the next year also is the year of the International Creative Economy and Sustainable Development, which the Indonesian government has sponsored at the UN. And this is an opportunity, again, to connect across to some of the work you're doing. And as the British Council, obviously, we work with artists across Indonesia, and it's an opportunity to connect things around the COP26, sustainable development, and Indonesia's interests and priorities. And that's why we keep coming back to this kind of content and book and the kind of network of partners that you have established here. it's a great opportunity to continue to disseminate and share the experiences you have.
Great, thank you. I shall attempt to translate that
Well,
as best I can.
You can shortcut that one.
Ya, dan ini kesempatan yang luar biasa untuk tahun depan, yang adalah tahun internasional ekonomi kreatif dan perkembangan internasional, sustainable.
I can't remember.
Yang juga didukung oleh United Nations. Dan British Council juga mau sangat mendukung proyek kayak ini yang bergabung dengan sisi lain-lain seperti sains dan kesenian dan culture, dan yang membuat partnership antara negara-negara lain dan peneliti-peneliti lain dan institusi lain, dan semoga berhasil untuk masa depan.
So thank you very much to everyone. Congratulations for the partnership, and I'm very much looking forward to the next presentation. So thank you so much for everyone.
Thank you, Hugh. Thank you very much. So I think that was Hugh Moffat from the British Council. Thank you. The next part of the discussion is a brief introduction to our source book, which we were talking about there. This is one of the main outcomes of the research project led by Matthew Cohen and Dewanto Sukistono in Indonesia as part of the partnership. And this is one of the main outcomes we've been working towards for the past 18 months. As part of the project, we had planned to have a conference in Indonesia, but due to COVID, we had to change the plans and refocus our energies onto this publication instead. I shall try and translate. Buku pintar ini, Wayang sebagai Media Ekologi, adalah hasil proyek penelitian kami yang telah berjalan selama 18 bulan ini. Ini dari proyek penelitian yang dihimpun dan oleh Matthew Cohen yang hadir hari ini, dan juga Dewanto Sukistono dari bagian Indonesia. Apalagi? This book is it's divided into 6 parts. We hope it will be very useful to artists and activists and educators of all kinds, as well as people interested in the arts more generally. The contents, let me show you inside. Here we go. We run from the more traditional side of wayang kulit, which is traditional Indonesian shadow puppetry. And we move through to more modern versions of Indonesian shadow puppetry, and then to more contemporary puppetry in Indonesia, all within the context of looking at environmental problems, ecology, biodiversity, and climate change. Berarti buku ini dibagikan sampai 6 bagian. Dari segi tradisional, wayang kulit tradisional, sampai yang lebih modern, sampai seni pertunjukan kontemporer juga. Tapi semuanya dalam konteks ekologi dan perubahan iklim dan masalah-masalah lingkungan hidup. I'd like to invite Kunci Study Forum and Collective to join the conversation now, because they have been our partners in designing the book, and they wanted to say a few words about the creative process of working together to produce this. Vicky and Azar, are you there? Hello.
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 Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Selamat datang. Ini Mas Vicky dan Mas Azar dari Kunci Study Forum dan Kolektif di Yogyakarta yang kerjasama dengan proyek ini untuk memuat buku ini. Dan silakan.
Oke, halo semua. Perkenalkan, nama saya Vicky dan sebelah saya Azhar. Jadi saya bekerja di Kunci Study Forum dan Kolektif. Dan terkait dengan buku ini, kita mengerjakan produksi bukunya melalui unit cetak kami, namanya Kunci Copy Station. Shall I translate that?
Yes,
English? Yes. So I'm Vicky, I'm from Kunci Study Forum and Collective. And regarding the book, we've been working on the book, the production of the book. And it will be produced by our printing unit service called Kunci Copy Station. And just a quick, just a brief, mungkin nanti saya akan menjelaskan sedikit saja, mungkin Azhar yang akan lebih banyak bercerita tentang gagasan bukunya secara sepintas lalu. So it will be Azhar who will talk more about the book, the concept behind the book, and how the book is structured, and so on and so on. So the floor is yours.
Halo, perkenalkan, nama saya Azhar. Saya selaku desainer di produksi buku wayang sebagai media ekologi ini. Terus ya mungkin penjelasan
cover bisa.
Penjelasan cover ini dia berlubang itu udah tersampaikan atau
mungkin harus
mungkin oke. Jadi cover buku wayang sebagai media ekologi ini dia memiliki lubang, dia berlubang yang bisa mengintip kayon gunungan tsunami dari Ki siapa ya? Lupa namanya.
Vicky mau translate atau saya?
Mbak,
Mas Vicky translate atau
bisa. So I'm Azhar. I'm the designer for this book, and I'm going to talk about the cover. And as you can see, the rounded, like the hole on the cover itself, covers kayon of tsunami's wayang. And once you open the book, you can see the entire kayon.
It's a puppet.
Yes.
Dengan maksud memberi kesan apa ya, ketertarikan dan mengintip apa yang sebenarnya ada di dalam wayang atau kayon dalam buku ini gitu.
Mungkin cerita juga sedikit kali soal tentang bagaimana hubungannya dengan ekologi gitu. Nah, apa selain tentang lubang itu sendiri yang visual, tapi ada nggak gagasan lain?
Oke. Dalam buku ini kami akhirnya membagi setiap bab itu dalam sebutan adegan. Jadi buku ini terdiri dari 6 bab. Setiap babnya ini kita mengganti nama babnya itu menjadi adegan. Adegan pertama, adegan kedua, adegan ketiga, dan seterusnya. Lalu di setiap bab adegan ini ada ilustrasi dan bentuk-bentuk grafis yang aku terinspirasi dari bukunya sendiri sih sebenarnya gitu. Mungkin reviewnya belum aku kirim ya, tapi aku punya di sini ada beberapa. Apa mungkin mau diperlihatkan?
I think that's a bit tricky now with the PowerPoint, but thank you so much, Azhar. I can translate and say that they chose very cleverly to call each of the parts of the book, instead of calling them section 1, 2, 3, they call it adegan 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which relates to the format of lakon, which is how it is in wayang kulit in the shadow puppetry plays. So the theme of wayang is reflected all the way through the design of the book, along with the kind of graphic flourishes that Azhar and Vicky have put into the book along the way. So everything relates back to wayang kulit. So it's been a good design process. Thank you very much, both of you. Thank you to
Terima kasih.
Puchi, and it's been a
Thank
pleasure
you.
to work together. I think we need to move on to our next guest now, is Matthew Isaac Cohen, who was the UK leader of the UK side of the Enabling Wayang project. Matthew, are you there?
I am, Laura. Can you hear me?
Hi, Matthew. Nice to see you. Hi.
Good morning. Selamat malam kepada teman-teman di Nusantara. It's good to be here. Terima kasih atas undangan ke webinar ini. And thanks also to the British Council for making this collaboration possible. Dan terima kasih juga kepada British Council atas bantuan dalam kolaborasi atau pemitraan ISI Jogja dan Royal Holloway. At the start of this project, I was a professor of international theater at Royal Holloway, University of London. Pada awal proyek ini, saya bekerja di Royal Holloway sebagai profesor, but I've gone on now to greener pastures, and I'm teaching in the United States at the University of Connecticut. Tapi sekarang bekerja di Amerika Serikat sebagai profesor di jurusan drama di University of Connecticut. My involvement in this project was not only as the project co-investigator, but also as a researcher. Jadi saya bukan hanya ini maskot sebagai ketua proyek, kerjasama dengan rekan saya, itu Dr. Dewanto Sukistono dari ISI Jogja, tapi juga sebagai peneliti. And today, my colleague, Dr. Andes Porjadi, will speak about Mapag Sri, which is part of the research which we worked on together. Jadi hari ini, CS saya, Dr. Andes Porjadi, Kidalang Porjadi, akan bicara tentang Mapag Sri, itu salah satu bagian dari riset yang kami menjalani bersama. But today I'm going to focus in on a work I've been doing on a remarkable collection of wayang, the Dr. Walter Angst and Sir Henry Angus collection of Indonesian puppets at Yale University Art Gallery, United States. Tapi hari ini saya akan membahas sedikit tentang penelitian yang berjalan di Amerika Serikat, yaitu di salah satu koleksi di Yale University Art Gallery, with a focus on the kayon as an ecological expression. Jadi fokusnya kayon sebagai ekspresi ekologi. We can see the next slide. The kayon is an all-purpose set and prop device used in wayang to open and close performances, and also to indicate certain effects or certain objects. Jadi kayon itu figur yang serbaguna dalam wayang Jawa maupun Bali, Lombok, dan sebagainya, yang bisa membatasi waktu, juga bisa punya peran berbagai macam. So in its use, its meaning depends on its use. So if it comes out of a body of a character, it could be a blast of magical energy. Jadi keluar dari badan salah satu karakter itu menjadi energi yang magis. It could be, if it placed at the bottom of the screen, it becomes a body of water. Jadi kalau ditaruh di bawah bisa jadi badan air, and it could become wind, jadi angin, or a divine gift, wayu, dan sebagainya. Kalau dilihat bentuknya dan isinya, kayon itu sebenarnya cukup lama ada di Nusantara. It's a very old form. It can be traced back to the ancient temples of Candi Mendut, Loro Jonggrang, Candi Kalasan, dan sebagainya. So you can see all in the ancient temples. But with standardization of the 20th century, in Java, and particularly in Central Java, there are two forms of kayon which are dominant. One of them is called the Gunungan Gapuran, which we see here on the slide. Jadi dengan standarisasi abad ke-20 ada yang dominan terutama di Jawa Tengah itu Gunung Gapuran yang dilihatkan di sini. Well, and another one which we also represent in the book ada salah satu lagi namanya Gunungan Blumbangan yang juga diilustrasikan di buku. And as you can see in this kayon, there is a combination of built environment with the natural world represented. Jadi kombinasi antara yang dibangun, dicipta oleh manusia dengan dunia yang luas dan liar, yang di luar tangan manusia. And that's a purposeful design. Jadi ini sengaja mengkombinasikan antara yang menjadikan rekayasa manusia dan yang di luar kemampuan manusia. So all kayon have this combination of things which are out of human control and within the human control. And each kayon has its symbolic significance. And semua ini punya signifikasi. Kalau di sini kita melihatkan kayon yang modern, kayon yang dicipta oleh seniman. So the previous kayon was a collective creation. This is a creation of a named artist, Ki Sigit Sukasman dari Yogyakarta. So this is the work of Sukasman from Yogyakarta, who was a cosmopolitan wayang artist. Jadi dia pandangan wayang sebagai seni dunia, and includes in this kayon not only the traditional symbols, but a motto. Jadi dalam kayonnya itu ada juga ini semacam logam yang dalam bahasa Inggris itu. The brainless animals keep mourning it in the mortal polluted world. The brainful human never care of he keeps polluting it. Jadi bahasanya agak ini ke Indonesiaan, Inggris Indonesia, tapi arti itu sangat jelas itu. Bahwa manusia itu punya tanggung jawab terhadap lingkungan. And you can see in the middle of the kayon dan di tengah-tengah itu ada peta dunia. Jadi ini menurut filsafat lama sebenarnya bahwa kayon itu simbol dari dunia. Dunia yang lahir, dunia di luar ini pemikiran manusia dan dunia yang batin juga. Dunia yang ada dalam manusia. So all kayon represent this idea of the world, both the internal world, the microcosm, and the macrocosm. And this is also illustrated here. Satu lagi slide, ya. Yang terakhir yang mau diangkat di sini ada ini kayon yang ada di cover buku. So the last example is a kayon from the book's cover. This is a kayon created by Ki Intussusmono. Ini ciptaan Ki Intussusmono. Tahun 2005 sesudah tsunami yang membanjiri Aceh dan sekitar Laut India. So this is a remembrance, an act of remembrance of the 2004 Boxing Day tsunami, which has significance also to people in Britain who might remember the great charity efforts which went to victims of the tsunami. It was a moment of global awakening. Jadi ini penting tsunami itu bukan hanya untuk masyarakat Indonesia, tapi juga masyarakat umum, termasuk di Inggris. And in the interpretation of Ki Intussusmono, we see the world, and above it, we see the Mosque of Aceh, which remarkably survived the tsunami. And shows, in my interpretation, that even the most unfortunate accidents need to be seen from a religious perspective. Dan ini sebenarnya hakikat daripada ini isi kayon, bahwa walaupun ada kecelakaan, walaupun ada musibah yang di luar tangan manusia, kita harus mengingat bahwa di atas manusia ada Pangeran. Ini bisa dilihatkan dalam desain kayon. Jadi di samping mengingatkan kelestarian masjid besar yang ada di Aceh, juga ini kita bisa memikir bersama tentang agama yang merupakan kunci untuk mengartikan hidup. So we can see this as a symbol of Kianto Susmono's religious belief embedded in the traditional form or the neo-traditional form of Kayon. Ini mungkin cukup untuk saya. Maybe that's enough for me for now.
Thank you, Matthew.
There are many others who are here to speak with us.
Thank you so much for joining us, Matthew. That was really, really interesting and
Thank you, Laura.
important, and also, of course, related to the cover of our book. That was what we chose for the cover as well, wasn't it? So
Yes, indeed.
thank you, Matthew. Moving on to our next guest, we have Pak Dewanto Sukistono, who is at ISI Yogyakarta in Pedalangan, jurusan Pedalangan. Pak Dewanto,
Ya.
Are you there?
Ya,
Hello,
ya,
hi,
terima
thank
kasih
you for joining
waktunya.
us.
Terima kasih waktunya Mbak Laura. Selamat malam yang lain, Mas Matthew, Mbak Marina, dan semuanya.
Thank you.
Ya,
You're going to talk about Davies. Sorry, excuse me. You're going to talk about Davies 3 today, and I have asked for help from our friend Pumai to help translate for you. So, Clau, if you speak in small chunks, she will translate for you. Thank you. Silakan. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih Mbak Laura. Ya, selamat malam. Pertama, tentu saya mengucapkan terima kasih dulu kepada British Council dan juga dari RPM Dikti yang telah mensponsori proyek ini, dan juga teman-teman satu tim hingga akhirnya terselesaikan juga proyek yang kita lakukan beberapa waktu yang lalu sampai sekarang. Saya akan mencoba menyampaikan atau menjelaskan tentang salah satu poin yang sebetulnya juga dibicarakan oleh Pak Purjadi tentang Dewi Sri. Kenapa Dewi Sri? Karena memang ini adalah simbol tentang kesuburan.
Can we translate?
Yeah,
please.
Sure.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. So first of all, Mr. Dewanto wants to thanks especially to British Council and also Dikti for sponsoring everything that they have done, including the research. And Mr. Dewanto is also wants to try to explain about some points that actually has been probably mentioned by Mr. Janto, and he's going to talk about Dewi Sri.
Di Jawa, lakon Dewi Sri itu mempunyai banyak versi dan merupakan garapan baru yang menggabungkan lakon versi Jawa dan versi Mahabharata. Tapi salah satu versi intinya menceritakan tentang kerajaan Amarta atau keluarga Pandawa yang mengalami ketidaktentraman karena ditinggal oleh Dewi Sri sebagai simbol pangan atau makanan, dan adiknya yaitu Raden Sedono sebagai simbol pakaian.
So Dewi Sri is sort of like an act that has many versions, and it is from the kingdom of Amata. It is generally about the sort of like uneasiness about his siblings, I guess. Her sibling, I'm sorry. And yeah, and this is what the version is about.
Yeah, I should be clear that Devi Sri is a goddess associated with rice and fertility in the rice fields primarily. So she's very important for the harvest, for the English version. It's fine, thank you. Silakan.
Kenapa mereka tidak betah? Karena merasa diabaikan, tidak diurus lagi. Nah, itulah mereka tidak nyaman, dan kemudian itu menunjukkan bahwa pemerintah Amarta sudah tidak lagi memperhatikan tentang pengelolaan di bidang pertanian dan juga di bidang kehutanan terutama di sini. Itu alasan kemudian Dewi Sri dan Raden Sedono itu pergi dari Amarta.
So why does she felt abandoned and also not being taken care of is because of she's not feeling comfortable with the government of Amarta, especially in the section of forestry and also
agriculture.
Yeah, agriculture, right.
Yeah,
and that is the main reason of why she left Amarta.
Oke. Nah, untuk mengembalikan Dewi Sri sebagai lambang kemakmuran dan kebahagiaan, kemudian hadir seorang tokoh berasal dari Kayangan, namanya Probokusumo. Nah, dia itu diutus oleh Kayangan untuk kemudian memboyong Dewi Sri. Kenapa dia pengen memboyong Dewi Sri? Karena dia pengen diaku anak oleh Janoko. Dan Janoko itu mensyaratkan kamu saya akui sebagai anak, tetapi dengan syarat kamu bisa mengembalikan Dewi Sri dan Raden Sudono ke Amarta.
So the process of returning Dewi Sri into being one of the symbols of fertility and also the others is because of one of the so one person that's called Sumo is also being sent by the Kayangan to bring Dewi Sri back into Amarta so that he can be recognized as Janoko's son. And that's one of his sort of like reason, or no, not reason, like become a sort of like a condition for him to be his son.
Yes. Mas Dewanto, do you want the next slide? Slide keduanya, perlu nggak?
Boleh Raden Sudono-nya.
Ya.
Nah inilah, ini tokoh utamanya. Raden Sudono dan Dewi Sri kakak. Ini kakak beradik, laki-laki perempuan, simbol dari keseimbangan. Nah, pada akhirnya ketika Probokusumo ketemu Dewi Sri bersedia untuk kemudian dibawa kembali ke Amarta, tapi dengan syarat bahwa Probokusumo bisa menghadirkan sebuah bunga, itu namanya ajari tangan. Ajari tangan itu sebetulnya kan simbol untuk kemudian melatih tangan dan perasaan. Nah, pada akhirnya ketika Probokusumo bisa menghadirkan ajari tangan bunga itu, akhirnya Dewi Sri bisa dan mau dibawa kembali ke Amarta, sehingga kemudian Amarta menjadi tenteram kembali.
Okay.
So talking briefly about the slide that you're currently seeing in front of you. So they are siblings, both Dewi Sri and Raden Sudono. So eventually Dewi Sri wants to go back to Amarta, but with a condition. Then again, she wants to for Kusumo to bring a flower called Ajari Tangan, so it can be, Ajari Tangan is sort of like a thing, a medium to train their hands of feelings. And once he brought back the Ajari Tangan, then Dewi Sri wants to go back to Amarta, and Amarta became a once welfare city again.
Yes, the balance was restored. Amarta, perfect.
Ya, tapi intinya sebetulnya kan pesan dari lakon ini adalah bahwa ketika kita sudah tidak peduli lagi terhadap alam, atau bahkan mungkin kita jahat dengan merusak alam, maka mereka akan menjauh. Dan untuk mendekatkan lagi tentu tidak mudah, karena barangkali ada yang hilang dan harus dikembalikan atau diganti, dan juga mungkin ada yang rusak, itu harus diperbaiki. Nah, alam selalu menyediakan semuanya untuk kehidupan kita. Bahkan bagaimana cara kita mengelola dan memanfaatkan alam, itu mereka sudah memfasilitasinya. Misalkan seperti suara hewan yang menandakan musim tertentu, atau kemudian masa-masa tertentu, dan itu untuk menunjukkan bahwa ketika waktu tertentu itu baiknya menanam tanaman tertentu dan sebagainya. Tetapi semuanya adalah tergantung dari niat dan usaha yang disimbolkan dengan bunga bunga tadi ya, bunga jari tangan itu sebenarnya kan jari tangan itu simbol dari niat dan kemudian mau melakukan. Nah,
thank you. 1 second, Mas, 1 second to translate.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so the essence or the message that we're trying to convey is that once we humans don't care about the nature, then they will become further away from us, meaning that if something has been broken, you have to repair it. If something's missing, then you have to search to change it. In terms of natures that has facilitated for us, for example, like the sounds of certain animals in certain season to demonstrate what kind of what season we're in, for example, or for to plant some plants that are good in several seasons. So it comes back to the what your intent are and your hard work. So then again, going back to the bunga jari tangan is the essence of intent and also your work. That's a symbol.
Thank you both, and thank you, Mas Dewanto, as well, very much for this, for explaining how Dewi Sri and how traditional wayang kulit still has a very strong role to play in telling stories that support the kinds of environmental messages that we're learning these days. Ada lagi untuk kesimpulannya?
Kesimpulannya itu tadi, tanda-tanda alam sekarang kan faktanya sudah berubah, sudah bergeser. Nah, mulai jarang ditemukan, sehingga kemudian bahkan kadang-kadang ada hewan yang sekarang itu sudah tidak menampakkan diri. Kalau kemudian ditanyakan itu salah siapa, ya hanya waktu yang bisa menjawab. Itu saja.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So, yeah, in conclusion, Mr. Dewanto was trying to say that the clock, the moved, and there are certain things, especially animals that has been extinct for several time now. And if you're asking whose fault is that, then only time will tell.
Okay. Thank you both very, very much for that. We're going to move on to our next speaker now, who is Ki Purjadi, who is a dalang from Cirebon in Java, and he's going to talk about Mapag Sri, which is a lakon, or a wayang kulit story or narrative, which features Dewi Sri, the goddess described by Pak Dewanto previously. Jadi yang berikutnya adalah Ki Purjadi, seorang dalang dari Cirebon, daerah di Jawa. Pak Purjadi ada di sini. Terima kasih, selamat datang. Silakan bicara dulu tentang Mapag Sri.
Ya.
Bentar. Nah, ini.
Ya.
Terima kasih.
Perkenalkan, nama saya Purjadi, seorang dalang di Dalang Gagak Cirebonan di wilayah Cirebon, Provinsi Jawa Barat. Di sini sebelumnya saya mengucapkan banyak terima kasih kepada Mbak Laura dan Mas Matthew. Juga salam buat teman-teman semua. Nah, sebelumnya sebentar mau ditranslate dulu.
Ya. Maybe I should translate. This is Purjadi introducing himself. He's a dalang, a shadow puppeteer from the area of Cirebon, and he's extending his thanks to his longtime colleague Matthew, and to the rest of the research team, and to everybody who's joining us today. Silakan, Pak.
Mungkin saya hanya melanjutkan dari apa yang tadi sudah dipaparkan oleh Pak Dewanto ya. Nah, itu memang betul bahwa Sri itu melambangkan kemakmuran dan kebahagiaan buat manusia di bumi. Nah, itu adapun Sri sendiri itu memiliki ada istilahnya itu kalau di Cirebon ya, pagelaran wayang itu dilambangkan dengan seorang putri ya, seorang putri dari Kahyangan. Nah, kemudian makna daripada keberkahan kebahagiaan itu untuk manusia di bumi itu berupa Sri, Babu Sri, Bapak Sedasadana, Babu Arta, dan Bapak Kencana. Ya, itu maknanya. Sri sendiri adalah padi ya, melambangkan padi. Nah, kemudian sadana itu harta benda ya. Kemudian arta sendiri artinya itu uang. Nah, kencana itu emas atau perhiasan yang sejenisnya.
Okay, can I intervene and translate a little bit, which is that Purjadi is adding to Dawanto's presentation on Dewi Sri to explain that Dewi Sri symbolizes fertility in terms of the people in general, but in Cirebon she's symbolized primarily as a girl, a putri, but also there's other versions or symbolizations, including padi, which is the rice, or harta, which is a fortune or money, and emas, which is gold. So there are variations on that in the Cirebonese story. Silakan Pak. Selanjutnya.
Ya. Untuk makna Sri sendiri adalah yang bermakna padi. Ini Dewi Sri ini setelah di bumi itu mempunyai anak, yaitu anak laki-laki cuma satu, kalau perempuan banyak. Nah, ini saya visualkan, ini banyak ya, tapi dua jenis. Ini namanya Dewi Madiun ya, sama Dewi Leci. Dewi Madiun sama Dewi Leci itu anak Sri yang perempuan, tapi masih banyak, itu banyak sekali jumlahnya yang perempuan. Okay. Adapun yang laki-laki cuma satu, namanya Raden Cempa, laki-laki cuma satu ya, jenis padinya itu ya.
Okay,
melambangkan padi.
So Purjadi has, with the puppets that he uses for this performance, Dewi Sri has just one son, a single son, who is Raja Simpan. Sorry, I didn't. Yes, and but she has many daughters who are symbolized by two puppets in this case, but that we have to imagine that there are many of them. She has lots of daughters. Silakan Pak. Silakan yang selanjutnya.
Ya. Adapun setelah Dewi Sri dan anak-anaknya itu turun di bumi, ya jelas di bumi Amarta tadi yang diterangkan oleh Pak Dewanto itu ya, artinya karena itu kan Pendawa yang mendapatkan berkah daripada Sri itu. Nah, itu setelah di bumi itu banyak sekali halangan atau hambatan, terutama ada semacam hama yang merusak tanaman padi. Nah, itu dilambangkan, divisualkan mengenai wayang. Tuh. Jadi hama di antaranya ada beberapa. Satu, misalkan celeng tembalung.
Okay.
Yang tembalung, ya.
Okay, so after they have come down to earth, Dewi Sri and her children, they encounter lots of obstacles and problems in terms of maintaining the fertility and the balance on the earth, and these include pests and other kinds of animals that cause problems with agriculture and attack the crops in the fields, and this includes the celeng, which is this wild pig or boar. Silakan Pak. Ya,
jadi celeng tembalung ini secara real, secara nyata itu ya merupakan wujud seekor babi hutan, binatang yang memakan tanaman padi, yang sering makan tanaman padi para petani ya. Nah, itu secara makna bahwa di dalam lakon Mapagsiri ya, binatang itu adalah asal usul dari kejadiannya hama tanaman. Tuh, seperti contohnya hama wereng, kemudian walang sangit, kupu putih, ulat bulu dan lain-lain. Nah, itu merupakan kejadian daripada celeng tembalung yang setelah mati kejadiannya menjadi jenis-jenis hama serangga itu.
Okay.
So
So to explain that, in reality, this kind of boar is a kind of wild pig that lives in the forests, and it does indeed come and eat and destroy, tramples all over all the crops in the fields, the rice crop. But the meaning in the Lakon or the Wayang narrative is that it symbolizes the origin of all the pests. So it is the origin of all the kinds of various insects that eat or attack the rice crop and that stunt growth. So there's a kind of brute meaning, which is of course that the boar itself destroys the crops, and also a more esoteric meaning, which is broader and symbolizes pests and threats to the crops in general. Silakan Pak. Mau yang berikutnya?
Ya, yang berikutnya.
Nah.
Uling maya ya.
Ya.
Ini di samping celang tembalung juga ada ya hama yang merusak tanaman, yaitu uling maya. Jadi uling maya itu secara bahasa itu artinya belut, ya belut ya. Nah itu belut itu yang dulu ya itu ada di dalam lahan sawah dan banyak membuat lubang-lubang di pematang sawah ya. Nah dan itu sering mengganggu merusak akar-akar tanaman padi. Nah itu sehingga menghambat pertumbuhan tanaman padi itu sendiri gitu. Itu uling maya ya.
Okay. So this puppet is uling maya symbolizes a kind of eel that lives in the rice paddies, and it makes lots of holes which destroy the rice crops by they break the roots of the plants, so they're a real problem in the fields. So I'll move on to the next one.
Ya. Kemudian yang selanjutnya ini paksi beranjangan ya, paksi beranjangan. Ini melambangkan burung yang memakan padi dengan jumlah yang sangat banyak. Jadi ribuan. Jadi yang seperti ini banyak, ini jumlahnya ribuan. Ini kalau padi sudah mulai tumbuh ya, sudah berbuah, ini burung-burung ini ribuan jumlahnya. Ini merugikan para petani ini. Nah itu yang namanya paksi beranjangan itu ya.
Okay, so he's explaining that this puppet symbolizes a kind of bird that eats the rice as it's growing, and there are loads of these birds, and they become a real plague for the farmers. Have a terrible time trying to keep them away from the rice crop. So I'll move on to the next one. This one. Silakan Pak. Yang berikutnya, angin.
Ya ini selanjutnya ini angin bugang ya, Detia angin bugang. Nah ini sejenis angin tapi digambarkan, divisualkan dengan wayang ya, dengan wayang Denawa atau Detia ya. Nah ini angin yang berputar-putar di lahan sawah, sehingga dapat merusak tanaman padi. Jadi tanaman padi itu semua rusak karena angin itu. Tuh, jadi.
So this puppet symbolizes the kinds of the winds that swirl around the rice fields, and they break the rice crops just before they're ready to harvest. So they're also causing a problem, because we've been looking at the environment in the widest sense, of course, looking at the damage caused by extreme weather.
Ya. Ya. Kemudian ini ya.
Ya.
Nah ini dadung awuk ya, dadung awuk. Nah dadung awuk ini sebenarnya pengembala. Ini pengembala ternak, ya penggembala ternak. Nah, ini penggembala binatang ternak seperti kerbau, terus sapi, terus juga kambing dan lain-lain. Nah itu pengembala ini kadang-kadang sering membiarkan ternaknya untuk memakan padi, tanaman padi itu yang sehingga merugikan itu termasuk yang merugikan petani. Jadi itu istilahnya dilambangkan dadung awuk, itu mengalami penggembala yang membiarkan itunya binatang ternaknya.
Yeah. So this puppet symbolizes actually the livestock animals which are part of agriculture. So in a way they're to help within the context of agriculture.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, they're allowed to graze the fields, which in turn they quite often damage the rice crop as well. So they also feature in this slightly not malevolent role, but in a role that shows yet another threat to the rice crop. And this performance is usually part of a ritual. Pak, apa pertunjukan ini juga dipentas sebagai ritual atau dalam konteks apa? Pak Purjadi. Oh, I wonder if his connection has gone. Well, in that case, I will say many, many thanks to Pak Purjadi for presenting the puppets and for the information about Mapang Sri, which features the full narrative is in the book, in the middle section of the book, which is beautifully illustrated as well dengan ilustrasi yang bagus-bagus. Ini Mapang Sri dimuat dan dipublikasi dalam buku pintar ini. Okay, so moving on in that case, thank you, Pak Purjadi, wherever you are. We've lost you. Moving on, I'm going to introduce Mariana back in. Mariana?
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, so we
Hi.
are starting now our second part of our discussion. And in the second part, I would like to give the floor to the artists who create performances of contemporary wayang or puppet theater. Speaking of contemporary wayang, I think I need to just explain what I mean by contemporary wayang. For me, this is a wayang which introduces new themes or new puppets, new language or new artistic means, and a new understanding of wayang. In that way, beginning the dialogue with the traditional forms of theater that we have heard about earlier, like Dewi Sri and Mapang Sri. So, di bagian kedua dari diskusi kita, dibuka untuk para seniman yang menciptakan karya wayang kontemporer atau teater boneka kontemporer. Dan wayang kontemporer itu wayang yang menyampaikan tema baru, wayang atau boneka baru, bahasa baru, dan cara kesenian yang baru, dan yang bisa menciptakan kepahaman baru mengenai wayang dan jalannya dari tradisi sampai masa kini. I asked each of our guests to prepare a short presentation about the artistic work, topics that they take up in their performances, and the challenges they face. Tamu-tamu kita telah siapkan presentasi pendek tentang karyanya, tema yang ditampilkan dalam pentasannya, dan tantangannya yang dihadapi. The common feature of their work is a creative approach to puppets and the materials from which they are making them. That is why I asked them to show us their puppets today and answer or reflect on questions how they create their puppets from the material that is not traditional one. What is the connection between the material puppets are made of with the story they tell? What is new or different or difficult in creating and animating puppets made from things like plastic or garbage or leaves that you find near the house or studio? Semuanya mengambil sisi kreatif terhadap wayangnya dan bahannya, makanya mereka diajak menunjukkan wayang dan bonekanya masing-masing. Apa bedanya antara wayang ini dan wayang tradisional? Apa keterkaitan bahan pembuatan boneka dengan cerita yang mereka ceritakan? Apa yang baru, apa yang unik atau sulit kalau membuat wayang dari bahan sehari-hari seperti plastik atau sampah atau daun atau yang lain. So I would like to invite our first guest in the second part, Mbak Ria from Paper Moon Puppet Theater. And Mbak Ria, are you there?
Halo, selamat malam, selamat pagi, selamat siang, good morning, good evening, good noon. Hello, Mbak.
Hello, Mbak Ria is a founder and co-artistic director of Paper Moon Puppet Theater from Yogyakarta. Mbak Ria adalah founder dan co-artistic director dari Paper Moon Puppet Theater dari Yogyakarta. And yesterday, some of you may maybe so, the performance from Paper Moon Puppet Theater, A Bucket of Beetles, which was presented as a like introduction to our today discussion, as a side event of our today's discussion. Jadi kemarin saya berharap beberapa tamu dan beberapa teman-teman menonton karya Paper Moon Puppet Theater, A Bucket of Beetles. Dan I think we can, for those of you that didn't see the yesterday's performance, we can start from seeing the trailer of the performance, and then I will ask a few questions to Ria about the performance and about the process of making it, making the story, and making puppets. Jadi kita bisa mulai dari menonton trailernya untuk teman-teman yang nggak menonton pertunjukannya kemarin. Terus aku akan tanya Mbak Ria tentang beberapa hal yang connect sama pertunjukannya. I think there we don't have sound. Laura, do we have sound?
Better.
So the performance was created based on a story from Ria's son, 5-year-old son, who is obsessed with like the small creatures, small insects, which he can find around Paper Moon Studio and around Ria's house. Yeah, and there is link from Ria, so you can see this trailer once again. Jadi ini pertunjukannya diadaptasi dari cerita dari Lunang, anaknya Mbak Ria, yang umurnya 5 tahun. Dan Lunang terobsesi dengan serangga yang ada dekat-dekat studio sama rumah Paper Moon. So I would like to ask how you create the story and why you found it important to tell a story with this very uncommon heroes like small beetles.
Yeah, so what we found very interesting about, well, this is like you said, Mbak Mariana, that the idea came up from my son because he was joining our process since he was 0 years old, still inside my womb, and then as soon as he was born, he was joining all of our journey as a puppet company. Jadi Lunang sudah mengikuti, anak saya yang berumur 5 tahun itu sudah mengikuti proses perjalanan membuat karya di Paper Moon itu sejak dia masih di dalam perut saya gitu, dan semenjak dia lahir dia sudah ikut semua perjalanan tour Paper Moon dan semua prosesnya. So he was, getting used to the rehearsal or making the process of story making, puppet making, so those kind of, and also the performance. Jadi dia sudah sangat terbiasa gitu dengan dari proses membuat cerita, terus latihan, pementasan. Even when we were performing in London, in London actually at that time, he was sleeping inside the suitcase when we do the sound checking, for example. Jadi dia waktu bayi gitu bahkan dia ada di koper gitu menunggu kami waktu kami harus sound check waktu pentas di London. So what we found very interesting that one day he came up to us, it was last year, and he said, I would love to make a performance as well. And we were like, okay, can you have a proposal? And waktu dia bilang, aku pingin dong juga bikin pementasan gitu. Dan saya tanya ke dia, apakah kamu punya proposal untuk diceritain mau bikin pentas apa gitu. Because since he was young, we were actually telling him for love everything. To love everything around him. Because for us, it's very important, 5-year-old boy, 0 to 5, 0 to, I don't know. But that's the very base of human to shape the brain. It's the golden age. Jadi masa usia bayi, anak balita itu adalah masa keemasan untuk pembentukan otaknya. And we found out that even my husband is really cannot handle cockroach. He's really trying hard to show to Lunang that this is an animal that it's okay, you know, like you don't need to be afraid. Like me with rats, for example, like, oh, I really cannot handle it, but I'm trying to become of, you know, take those kind of really simple examples. Jadi kami tahu gitu karena anak-anak ya dia harus punya tanaman yang sangat baik gitu jadi kepalanya gitu. Meskipun suami saya nggak bisa ngelihat kecoa, tapi begitu ada Lunang gitu dia berusaha untuk tidak ekstra apa ya terlalu takut atau terlalu jijik gitu. Why we put that kind of perspective, because we found that because if we can live hand in hand together with those animals, it might be better. The world might be better place. Jadi buat kami kalau kita bisa hidup berdampingan dengan hewan-hewan ini yang bahkan mereka sudah datang lebih dulu dari kita, mungkin dunia akan menjadi lebih baik gitu. So if you know, because these animals lived before us, they live in this situation, they live in this land before we were born. Kita lahir sebelum, maksud saya mereka ada di tanah ini sebelum kami lahir gitu. Jadi waktu Lunang bilang bahwa dia pengen bikin pertunjukan tentang serangga dan dia bercerita tentang ini, kami mendapatkan sebenarnya satu perspektif yang sangat menarik. We got a very interesting perspective from this little boy, because if you can love these teeny tiny insects that it always becomes the pest in our house, you will love the rest of the universe. Kalau kamu bisa mencintai hal kecil yang selama ini kita anggap dia hama, maka kamu bisa mencintai semua hal yang hidup di bumi ini. It means that you will love everyone, no matter colors, no matter hair, no matter cultures. Artinya dia bisa mencintai orang lain dengan warna kulit yang berbeda, dengan jenis rambut yang berbeda gitu. There is no difference. So that's why we say, yes, we would love to do this.
And what I found really unique in this performance is also your approach to thinking like to create puppets and to create setting, because you took a story from something which was around you, like you took the story from your son's story, and also all characters were like the animals that he found in the garden, but also the setting and the puppets were created from what you found just next to your house. So I would like to ask you, like, if you can explain a little bit and tell us a little bit about the process of creating puppets and creating the setting, and I will maybe say it in Indonesian very shortly. Jadi ini pertunjukannya unik, nggak hanya karena topiknya, nggak hanya karena ceritanya yang bercerita tentang hal-hal yang kecil yang ada dekat sama anaknya Maria, tapi ini uniknya juga karena bonekanya dan karena setnya, karena semua dibuat dari bahan-bahan yang mereka dapat di dekat rumah dan studio mereka. Jadi silakan sekarang bercerita sedikit tentang proses membuat boneka sama membuat settingnya untuk pertunjukan ini.
Yeah, so like what you can see in the screen, that's actually the sets of A Bucket of Beetles. Just like Mbak Mariana said, we use all these branches, dried leaves from around our studio because we live in the small village, and then we were still surrounded by nature. It's like a little forest basically. Jadi studio Peppermoon itu terletak di sebuah desa kecil yang di sekelilingnya masih ada banyak pohon seperti hutan kecil sebenarnya. And then when the pandemic happened, and then we decided to make this as a virtual, like a screen cinematic puppet performance, we decided to explore what we can do in this format while we couldn't do that in the conventional theater stage. Jadi akhirnya kami memutuskan untuk apa yang bisa kita lakukan di format medium layar seperti ini, karena memang karya ini dipresentasikan melalui layar, dan tidak mungkin dilakukan di panggung-panggung konvensional. Of course, if we travel with these materials around the world, I bet that will be a big problems for the custom declare and stuff like that, right? Like it's always, is there bugs there? You have to do this. There is no humidity, crazy bureaucracy. Jadi kalau kita traveling, teman-teman pergi ke luar negeri membawa pertunjukan dengan material seperti yang kalian lihat sekarang di layar, itu hampir tidak mungkin. Karena di banyak negara kita nggak mungkin bisa masuk. Is there any fungus? Is there any fleas? Is there any... Selalu dicari, ada jamurnya enggak, ada kutunya enggak, gitu. And then so we decided this is the right time to do this. And we're talking about nature. This is the biggest possibilities. Jadi kami kemudian memutuskan ya ini saatnya. Kami sudah kebetulan semua karya Peppermoon sebenarnya menggunakan material organik ya. Kami tidak pakai latex, kami tidak pakai resin. From the beginning, all of Peppermoon's production are using more like organic materials, like not using latex or resin or something that it's kind of like quite chemistry, chemical. I mean. Jadi kami tidak menggunakan bahan-bahan yang memang mengandung bahan-bahan kimia yang terlalu berbahaya gitu. Jadi memang akhirnya ini seperti it likes a dream come true, like we're making the sets. So this is the puppets actually, one of the puppet. And as you can see, this is from the mantis. The design is coming from my son. Jadi desainnya diambil dari gambarnya Lunang, the two-dimensional version of Lunang's drawing. And then we use like, you can see this is a branch, old dry branch as the antenna of the mantis. Jadi ini semua kami pakai ini dari bantal bekas. So we use it from like old pillows that we're not using anymore. And then we cover it with stockings and then do embroidery threads on it. Terus kita jahit dengan benang. Kebetulan kami punya komitmen, we have a commitment when we do the performance. We won't buy anything. We just use something that we can find in our studio. Jadi kami bikin komitmen untuk pakai barang yang ada, jadi nggak beli apa-apa. So that's how the sets and the props actually built. And this is Wehea, the main character of the production. As you can see, we use rattan as the structure for the body. And we don't need to import it because it's still easily finding here and it's quite cheap. It's very, very cheap. Jadi kami pakai rotan untuk badan semua boneka di Peppermoon dan kami nggak perlu ngimpor karena ini masih sangat bisa didapatkan dengan harga murah gitu. And this is paper mache. So yeah, so basically that's how the choice of the artistic, the aesthetic as well.
Yeah, and what I found yesterday and also previously when I saw it for the first time, your performance is like really universal because it's the language is it's without any words, so the language is just like a visual and music one. And because you are talking about really like small things that have the small steps that everyone can take to protect environment and to protect their closest friends like animals and places like forests. So I think it's really universal and it's people from all around the world can find it interesting and inspiring. Jadi ini menurut saya ini pertunjukan yang sangat universal, sangat
universal ya, bisa diterima.
Bisa diterima di seluruh dunia karena Peppermoon berbicara tentang hal-hal yang kecil, tentang binatang yang kami bisa memprotek dan tentang hutan-hutan yang di sekitar kita. Jadi ini juga ceritanya tentang hal-hal yang kecil yang kita bisa membuat. Kita gak harus memulai dengan hal-hal yang sangat besar yang susah untuk digunakan untuk memprotek lingkungan yang di sekitar. So we don't have to begin from like something huge or like some things to protect the environment which is around us. We can start from something small and simple, like learning how to love nature and how to love all the creatures that are living there.
Exactly. And also, if I can add a little bit, because in the beginning it is started from Lunang's perspective from a 5-year-old boy. But then honestly, we add more and more as the creator, as the artist, we add more and more layers on the production. So it's actually talking about how we lost more and more our forest and it's changing to a plantation. And I think, you know, and this is really, I got this experience when I took bus from Singapore to Malaysia. And on the way of the bus, it's all palm plantation. And it's insane. It was just like, how come this is happened because it's really happening in front of your eyes, because sometimes we just see it in social media or in photos, and we kind of like, oh no, but at that time it was really struck me in the eye. And then that's why we kind of like, of course we can start from small things, but as a reminder that we are not okay. Those animals can live without us, but we cannot live without nature. So I think those kind of biggest condition. Jadi sebenarnya saya tadi baru cerita kalau memang karya ini dimulai dari inspirasinya dari anak umur 5 tahun. Tapi sebagai seniman kami menambahkan lapisan demi lapisan di dalam karya ini bahwa sebenarnya tema besarnya adalah bahwa semakin hari kita semakin kehilangan hutan kita, dan itu sebenarnya terjadi ketika saya mengalami perjalanan naik bis dari Malaysia ke Singapura dan dari Singapura ke Malaysia sebaliknya, dan di sepanjang perjalanan saya tidak melihat hal lain selain kelapa sawit gitu, perkebunan kelapa sawit, dan itu benar-benar terjadi di yang tadinya tempat itu adalah hutan gitu. Jadi ya begitulah gitu. Saya juga kami juga waktu itu berpikir bahwa kemudian alam itu bisa hidup tanpa manusia, tapi manusia tidak bisa hidup tanpa alam. Jadi it's kind of like that's the biggest point of the production.
Okay, thank you very much, Ria.
Terima kasih, Mbak.
Terima kasih, Mbak Ria. Terima kasih. We could see the performance yesterday. It was really great. And I would like now to invite our second guest, Dr. Igusti Putusudarta from Bali, who is a creator of wayang plastik. Jadi saya mau mengundang Igusti Putusudarta dari Bali, yang pada tahun 2019 menciptakan wayang plastik. And at the beginning, I would just like to ask you to tell us something about the beginnings of wayang plastik, why you decided to create this kind of new wayang. Jadi untuk memulai, saya mau tanya sedikit tentang latar belakang lahirnya wayang plastik. Kenapa Anda pilih untuk membuat wayang dari bahan-bahan seperti plastik? Dari mana ada ide Anda?
Terima kasih, selamat malam ya kalau di Bali ya. Benarnya kenapa saya bikin wayang plastik? Karena plastik sudah jadi sampah yang mencemari alam, dan itu manusia tidak sadar sekali bahwa sebenarnya manusia sudah merusak alam itu dengan sampah plastiknya. Itu dasarnya dulu. Silakan.
Okay. Yeah, so Igusti decided to create wayang plastic because plastic became something that people were destroying the nature with plastic. Yeah.
Ya, saya tahu kita sekarang tidak bisa sepenuhnya menolak plastik ya, bukan itu maksud saya, tapi bagaimana manusia bisa memperlakukan sampah plastik itu atau plastik itu dengan benar, atau boleh tidak pakai plastik kalau tidak perlu, gitu misalnya. Kenapa harus plastik? Kita seperti ketergantungan sekali dengan plastik, padahal bisa dilakukan dengan hal yang lain misalnya. Contohnya saya sudah dari 20 tahun yang lalu sebenarnya kasih contoh kepada masyarakat, karena saya tidak punya regulasi untuk menegur masyarakat ya. Oh jangan begini, jangan buang sampah sembarangan apalagi plastik. Tapi saya sudah mulai berubah dengan diri saya sendiri, misalnya pakai rantang, ya berusaha begitu. Saya kemana bawa rantang biasanya. Nah itu contohnya.
Okay, so the question is maybe not that we should resign completely from using plastic, but also how we can better recycle it, how we can, or what we can use instead of using plastic. And Igusti is like giving his example that he already like 20 years ago started to think about this, how he can reduce the plastic usage and what he could do instead of using plastic bags, for example. So he is using another bags or like another means of places like baskets or something, so he can take his shopping with him. He doesn't need to use plastic. So he's setting his way of living as an example for other people, because it's also like about giving example, like about giving good example to others, so others can follow him and can change something in their lives.
Ya oleh karenanya saya bikin wayang plastik ini sebenarnya untuk menyadarkan orang tentang bahaya plastik. Makanya saya pakai wayangnya wayang plastik, dibuat dari plastik, dari sampah yang dihasilkan oleh manusia. Ini loh yang kamu buang-buang ini kan ini ya. Jadi, nah itu maksudnya. Tolong sadarilah bahwa Anda sudah mencemari alam dengan sampah, dengan plastik ini.
Okay, so the reason was also like to say, yeah, this is like the dangers of using plastic, and this is our puppets are made, like my puppets are made from what you just throw away, from the garbage that you are, from the plastic waste that you are throwing away. Just look, this is what you throw, and I'm creating wayang out of this. Okay, so maybe I would like to ask, like now, to if you could say something more about the puppets that you created, how they were created, and how you were working with plastic, because this is not an usual medium and usual material the puppeteers are using to create puppets. Jadi saya mau tanya sekarang, saya mau minta untuk bercerita sedikit lebih tentang wayangnya dan tentang bahannya, karena plastik ini tentu saja nggak bahan tradisional yang dipakai untuk membuat wayang. Jadi silakan bercerita sedikit tentang wayangnya dan tentang cara membuat itu.
Ya, wayangnya ya dari plastik seperti ini ya. Kita cari sampah-sampah plastik itu yang bisa, yang dari pembungkus-pembungkus makanan, pembungkus deterjen, saset-saset yang bisa dipakai. Lalu kita buat sket. Nah, itu dikumpulkan dulu, dicuci, dibersihkan, dibuka ya seperti ini. Kalau bisa dilihat ya. Nah, ini setelah di-sket, lalu kita ini nanti kita cari, ditempeli aja macam-macam pembungkus-pembungkus itu yang bisa, biarlah motifnya macam-macam, yang ada tulisan, ada apa, itu bekas pembungkus biskuit dan lain sebagainya, susu, apa saja kita buat tempelkan. Malah ini memberikan warna, tekstur yang sangat tidak biasa ya, yang sangat kering, dry, dan sangat panas. Ini udah mencerminkan sampah plastik itu sebenarnya, supaya orang nangkap ini. Tapi jadi ornamen yang unik juga, karena artistiknya juga unik juga. Ini ada tulisan produknya, ada warnanya, ada tekstur macam-macam di sini. Monggo.
Okay, so they were like looking for this plastic waste and plastic garbage, and all kind of plastic waste, like food packages or sachets from shampoos or other cosmetics, and they were collecting this and cleaning and then designing puppets and putting all this plastic waste together. And it's important to also see all this all these colors and all this small I don't know, names of the sachets or names of the food, because this is also like an important thing to see. Okay, these are this sachets. This is also something that is creating the unique character of each puppet. Each puppet is different, obviously, because there are different plastics used to create this. But this is also kind of a message that, you know, these were the plastic that you were throwing away, and now they become the part of the puppet. I think I would like to end it now here, because we have another guest that is also creating puppets from sampah, from garbage. sekarang saya mau mengundang Mas Konde dari Wayang Sampah karena ada satu lagi tamu yang membuat bonekanya dan membuat wayangnya dari sampah. And I would like to ask Mas Konde about his story, how he begins his work with sampah, with garbage, and how he creates his puppets. Jadi Mas Konde dari Wayang Sampah, apakah bisa bercerita sedikit tentang latar belakang Wayang Sampah dan tentang proses membuat boneka? And I don't know if Mas Konde is with us. Mas Konde, are you there? Mas Konde ada?
Ya,
Okay. Do you want us first to show the short video, or you want to say something first? Or maybe we can see it first, how it looks like. Apakah bisa menonton dulu trailernya atau bercerita dulu?
ya bercerita dulu juga boleh.
Okay. So if you can just say a few words about how you started, and then we can see the puppets, and then we can also see the short video. Jadi untuk awalnya bisa bercerita sedikit tentang proses, tentang latar belakang Wayang Sampah, terus nanti kita bisa nonton trailernya dan nonton bonekanya yang ada di belakang Mas Konde.
Ya, terima kasih untuk kesempatan yang diberikan sama saya. Juga salam untuk semuanya. Jadi ceritanya Wayang Sampah ini awal mulanya itu ketika itu saya bertemu dengan seorang seniman. Nah, itu dia menggunakan media untuk menyampaikan pesan-pesan tentang lingkungan. Nah, dari situ saya belajar untuk membuat wayang. Dan awalnya saya membuat wayang beber ya, wayang yang dibatik dengan menggunakan warna batik alam. Karena saya melihat kondisi sungai di dekat tempat membatik itu penuh dengan ya sampah plastik, ya airnya warna-warni. Akhirnya karena membuat batik warna alam itu agak sulit dan terlalu lama gitu ya. Akhirnya saya berinisiatif untuk membuat bentuk lain gitu dari sampah dengan melihat masalah lingkungan yang ada di sekitar. Dan akhirnya saya menggunakan media plastik untuk membuat wayang sampah itu. Jadi begitulah latar belakang.
Okay, so the beginning was the whole process begins with a meeting with another artist that was creating artworks connected to environment, and from that meeting, Mas Konde got an inspiration to create also wayang that would speak about environmental issues. But he started not from Wayang Sampah that we are going to discuss today, but from Wayang Beber Wellingan, and this is a kind of new kind of wayang beber with natural dyes. And when he started processing, like dyeing the material, he saw that in the river there are a lot of plastic garbages, a lot of plastic trash, and the colors are not as nice and as good as they supposed to be because of the pollution, because of the polluted river. So from that point, he started to look around him, and he saw that there are plastic waste, plastic trashes all around him, and he decided to create Wayang Sampah with plastic as his main material to create these puppets. Jadi mungkin sekarang bisa melihat trailernya, biar semua tamu-tamu kita tahu Wayang Sampah itu apa ya. So we can watch the short video now, so you all know how it looks like.
Sampah, sampah, sampah.
Okay, thank you for the trailer. So I would like to ask you if you could show us one of your puppets and say a few words about how you made the puppet and how you work on new characters, because there are also not the traditional wayang characters that are in your performances. Jadi sekarang mungkin Mas kalau bisa bercerita sedikit tentang wayangnya, gimana cara membuat wayangnya, terus juga tentang karakternya, karena ini bukan karakter yang tradisional, yang dari wayang tradisional.
Ya, sebenarnya wayang sampah ini, ya ini ya, semua terbuat dari plastik ya. Ini dari plastik bag sama dari dalamnya apa? Ini ada botol air mineral. Nah ini juga ya sebenarnya tujuannya sama ya, ini wayang sampah sama punya wayang plastiknya Mas Gusti, yang sebenarnya tujuannya untuk mengkampanyekan bahaya sampah plastik itu untuk lingkungan. Dan ini cara memainkannya ya, ini mengadopsi dari wayang golek sebetulnya, wayang golek. Nah ini juga, nah itu bisa ini kan. Juga sebetulnya bisa dilepas juga. Ini simpel ya. Ini ada bagian badan dan bagian kepala. Nah ini kepala ini juga dari botol plastik, lalu dibuat apa? Face-nya ada hidung, mulut dan kuping, mata itu dari plastik juga. Dan ini untuk menggerakkan kepalanya itu juga dari plastik. Ya, bajunya juga ini dari kantong plastik juga. Hanya ini dari bambu ini. Untuk stick memainkan tangan, bambu tapi ditutupi dengan kantong plastik juga. Ya, cara memainkannya hampir sama dengan wayang golek. Kira-kira seperti itu, Mbak Mariana.
Okay, so the puppets are similar to wayang golek puppets, which are three-dimensional puppets used in traditional wayang in Java as well. But everything is made made from plastic, and puppets consist of two parts. There is a head and the body, and they are both made from bottle. But the bottle is covered with plastic, so you can see the face, the eyes and lips, and also hair. Everything is made from plastic, And you could see that the body is covered with clothes, and clothes are also made from plastic bags. And the stick which is inside the puppet, which helped to manipulate the puppet, is also made from plastic. And the only not plastic part of the puppets are the bamboo sticks, which are attached to hands, so you can animate hands with them, but they are covered with plastic. So basically, everything is made from plastic and from the waste. So and also like why they are creating these puppets, the message behind it is similar to wayang plastic from Bali. So just to say about the dangers of plastic waste and the dangers of plastic pollution. Okay, terima kasih Mas Konde atas presentasinya. Thank you very much Mas Konde for the presentation. And I would like to move to our last guest, Mas Ang from Komunitas Sakatoya. Now, Laura, we can see your whole desktop. And Mas Ang prepared a short presentation about Komunitas Sakatoya and especially about his work, which is called Cosmic Pollutant. And in the meantime, when Laura is preparing the presentation, I would like to just introduce Mas Ang. He's a theater artist, production manager, and producer, and he creates Komunitas Sakatoya. He's a founder and a playwright also, working with Komunitas Sakatoya, which is an art collective focusing on ecological issues. Di Mas Ang adalah seniman teater, production manager, dramaturg, dan founder dan penulis naskah di Komunitas Sakatoya, sebuah kolektif yang berfokus pada isu-isu ekologi. Jadi, Mas Ang, please, the floor is yours.
Oke, halo, selamat malam semuanya. Nama saya Eng, perkenalkan. Terima kasih sudah datang untuk panel malam ini. Hello everyone, my name is Eng. Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming to this panel discussion. So I will start with this. I prepared the presentation for this. Next, Laura. You can next, yes. So what is Sakatoya? Jadi Sakatoya itu adalah kolektif seni yang anggotanya bergerak di bidang manajemen, produksi, dan pengkaryaan teater. Berdiri tahun 2011 dan dulunya bernama Galau Production. Lalu di 2014 berganti nama menjadi Sakatoya. Sakatoya sendiri punya beberapa program dan dari situ kami aktif berkolaborasi dan bekerja dengan berbagai seniman dari berbagai disiplin seni, baik lokal maupun internasional. Dan mulai 2018 Sakatoya karya-karya teaternya berfokus pada isu-isu ekologi. So Sakatoya is an artist collective whose members are working in art management, production, and theater works. Established in 2011, it was previously named Galau Production, and later in 2014 changed names to Sakatoya. Sakatoya actively engaged in a creative and collaborative process with the other artists and groups from other art fields, both local and international. Since 2018, the theater works of Sakatoya has been focused on ecology issue. Next. So this is maybe our statement. Jadi ini mungkin gagasan kami setiap karya. The objective is theater as a trigger to ecological issue awareness. Jadi bagi kami fungsi teater itu sebagai pemantik kesadaran isu-isu ekologi. Dan konsepnya itu berpijak pada dramaturgi pengalaman kepenontonan dan keterlibatan penonton sebagai dasar penciptaannya untuk membuat karya-karya yang provokatif. So the concept is a dramaturgy of audience experience and audience engagement as a basic idea in creating provocative works. Next. So this is Sakatoya works from 2018 until 2020. Jadi berdasarkan konsep tersebut, kami itu selalu bikin eksplorasi sama eksperimen yang beda di setiap karya. Itu kenapa bentuk karyanya Sakatoya itu selalu berubah dan berbeda-beda. Mulai dari set spesifik, teater partisipatoris, menciptakan instalasi yang performatif, sampai teater boneka. So based on that concept, we always try new exploration and experiment, and that's why art form of Sakkatoya theater is always changed and different, starting from set-specific theater, participatory, performative installation, and puppet theater. Next. So before we go to the cosmic pollutant, first I will tell you a little about this project, Octagon Syndrome. The issue of plastic waste is a big issue around the world, including Indonesia. So we create the work with the premise, can humans survive if natural resources thrown into the plastic waste? Jadi sebelum ke kosmik, kita akan ke oktagon dulu karena ini cikal bakalnya kosmik polutan. Jadi isu sampah plastik itu kan isu besar ya di seluruh dunia termasuk Indonesia. Jadi waktu itu kami membuat karya dengan premis, bisakah manusia bertahan hidup jika sumber daya alam semuanya itu berubah jadi sampah plastik? So we create a concept, we create a giant plastic dome installation and disturbing the audience with the situation, and they watching the show together with the plastic waste. You can see on the picture. We create this for awareness trigger about the dangerous impact of plastic waste. Jadi kami membuat pertunjukannya itu di sebuah kubah raksasa, sampah plastik, terus menontonnya tuh bareng sampah plastiknya supaya mereka itu kepantik bahwa atas bahayanya sampah plastik. And because in this work we collect a lot of plastic waste, we then think about how to recycle it in new art form. Nah, karena di karya ini itu kami mengumpulkan banyak sekali material sampah plastik. Jadi kami kemudian berpikir bagaimana mendaur ulangnya ke bentuk karya baru. Next. So this is Cosmic Pollutant, performative plastic waste dome installation and puppet theater from a recycled material. Jadi kemudian kami membuat Cosmic Pollutant, sebuah pertunjukan yang menggabungkan instalasi performatif dome sampah plastik dan teater boneka. Next. Yes, the beginning. In the beginning, this work was created, of course, because Mbak Ria from Peppermint Puppet Theater allow us, Sakkatoya, to perform at Pesta Boneka 6. Thank you, Mbak Ria. And because we are not puppet theater group, it became a new challenge to us to create a object theater. Jadi awalnya itu adanya Cosmic Pollutant tentu saja karena Mbak Ria itu mengizinkan kami, Sakkatoya, untuk dapat tampil di Pesta Boneka yang ke-6. Dan kami sadar kami itu bukan kelompok teater boneka, jadi ini jadi tantangan baru untuk membuat pertunjukan objek. Next. Nah, jadi kami kemudian memulainya dengan premis ini. Bagaimana jika produksi sampah plastik itu nggak dapat dikendalikan sampai menutup seluruh permukaan bumi? Nah, di situ kami kemudian membuat sebuah cerita sederhana tentang matahari yang gagal menyinari bumi. So we start with this premise: what if the production of plastic waste cannot be controlled until it covers the entire surface of the earth? From there, we created a simple story about the sun who failing to illuminate the earth. Nah, dan konsepnya adalah membuat teater boneka tanpa bahasa verbal menggunakan materi sampah plastik. And the concept is creating puppet theater performance with the verbal language using plastic waste material. Next. Jadi kamu kemudian cari referensi dan dapat inspirasi dari reality show ini. Judulnya Masquerade. Mungkin teman-teman yang Indonesia masih agak ingat. Ini sempat tayang di tahun 2000-an kalau nggak salah. Then we look for a reference and got inspiration from this Japanese reality show named Masquerade. This show was broadcasted on Indonesian TV around 20s. Dan dari sana kami mendapatkan kata kunci untuk berkarya yaitu fake cinematic effect, perspektif kamera, dan manipulasi ukuran objek. From there we get the three keywords: fake cinematic effect, camera perspective, and manipulation of size of the object. Next. Nah, setelah itu kami ke Mbak Ria lagi untuk ngobrol, karena Mbak Ria itu selaku kuratornya Pesta Boneka, dan Mbak Ria itu ngomong, di Pesta Boneka ini kalian boleh loh membuat pertunjukan kalian sendiri, maksudnya areanya atau settingnya sendiri atau space-nya. So after we got the idea, we discussed with Ria again as the curator of Pesta Boneka, and Ria said, in this festival you can create your own space for your performance. So dari sana kemudian dapatlah ide untuk membuat settingan kosmopolitan seperti yang ada di gambar, di mana penontonnya dapat nonton sambil tiduran dengan jumlah terbatas dan durasinya cuma 10 menit. From there came the idea to create this plastic waste dome where the audience can lying down watching the performance in a limited number audience and in short duration, just 10 minutes for each season. Next. Next, Laura, please. Jadi tahap berikutnya terus kami menciptakan tokohnya. The previous one. Menciptakan tokohnya. Jadi kami berkolaborasi dengan visual artist namanya Arda Wigarda. Jadi ini sketsa tokoh matahari dan bulan. The next step is we create the character. This is the sun and the moon. Next. Because from the start we understood that this work was based on film logic, so we create a storyboard to determine the number and the size of the object. Jadi kami sadar ini tuh pakai nalar film, jadi kita butuh bikin storyboard untuk nentuin ukuran dan jumlah puppetnya gitu. Next. Nah, so this is the making process. The first photo is we determine the size of the object based on the storyboard and the dome. Then the next photo is the plastic waste material. So it's a plastic bottle that it's cut out and stretched, then iron. The material is actually an exploration of Danny Martin, the scenographer who collaborate on Octagon Syndrome. Nah, jadi ini foto ketika kami mengukur dan menentukan ukuran dan jumlah objeknya. Terus sebelahnya itu material botol plastik yang dipotong, terus dibentangkan, terus disetrika. Dan ini sebetulnya itu yang punya ide ini sebetulnya namanya Danny Martin, dia skenografernya Octagon Syndrome. Next. So this is the process of making the object. Based on the design and the size, and we put the LED strip light. Jadi proses kami membentuk objek pada dieksplorasi dengan lampu LED. So we create a different size for each character. I will show you maybe for maybe just the object. This is the moon, the little one, the moon, and this is the small moon. You can see. And we have this, the bigger one, moon. Okay. Next. So this is the process creating the dome. Next. Next, Laura, in the final slide. The final, yes, this is the final form of the cosmic pollutant installation. Jadi ini bentuk akhirnya ketika pertunjukan. Terima kasih. Jadi bisakah kita putar videonya, Mbak Mariana?
Laura, the video is in the previous presentation.
Oh, sorry. Baik, mohon maaf. Sebentar. Silakan ngobrol dulu sambil saya carikan video. Oh.
Okay, so yeah, in the meantime, when we are waiting for the video, is that I would like to say that I saw this performance a year ago in Yogyakarta, and I think it's a really interesting way of also a very universal language, how you can speak about plastic waste, and very like, it stick in my mind still until now, because you know the idea that you are entering the dome or the mountain made of plastic, and this is something that you know you have to enter, and it's overwhelming if you are inside. So this is, I guess this is kind of our future if we are not doing anything with the plastic pollution. Okay, so we can watch it now.
It's a fantastic psychedelic experience for the audience. It's really fun imagination, and it's very fun. It's like a bedtime story to me. It's incredible. You lie on your back, you're in the cosmos. Are you responsible? What to say?
Yes, thank you,
Okay,
Laura. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you once again, and thank you to all our artists, which are creating amazing works from materials, unique materials, very unusual materials, and they are all speaking about environment and about problems like protection of environment, climate crisis, waste that is everywhere in Indonesia, about the fire forests. So, you know, all these very important things, they're speaking with very simple stories just to make it available to everyone, so everyone can understand it and everyone can learn from it. And most of them are also conducting workshops with children, which I think is also very important, to show it and to teach about it the youngest generation and the kids that are our future, so they can also learn by watching and by learning how to create puppets, for example, from the plastic waste, how to protect the environment. Jadi ini terima kasih banyak kepada tamu-tamu seniman yang berbicara tentang karya-karya mereka, karena mereka semua berbicara tentang hal-hal yang sangat penting, tentang masalah lingkungan, masalah dengan iklim, kebakaran hutan, sampah-sampah yang ada di Indonesia, dan mereka juga kebanyakan membuat workshop untuk anak-anak, biar anaknya juga bisa belajar tentang masalah-masalah lingkungan, bisa belajar gimana caranya untuk memproteksi lingkungan, apa yang sampah, kenapa gak boleh buang sampah misalnya, kenapa itu penting untuk berbicara tentang sampah, tentang masalah-masalah lain. So I think the work is really amazing, and I thank you very much once again for joining us tonight.
Then also sadly we have run over. It's been such an interesting discussion today that we've run longer than planned. So it seems that we don't have time for the Q&A that we had planned. We'll have to do that another time, I guess. We'd like to thank all our guests who came and who spoke about their research and their artworks, and also thanks to all our guests who came to watch the discussion and participate that way. And thank you also to Hugh Moffat from the British Council and to the Newton Fund and from the Indonesian partners also. Jadi kami mohon maaf karena waktunya tiba-tiba habis. Ternyata tidak ada waktu yang cukup untuk tanya jawab, session tanya jawab. Tetapi kami mau ucapkan terima kasih banyak atas semua tamu yang datang, pembicara dari segi peneliti dan segi juga seniman yang datang sama yang menonton juga. Buku pintar kita sedang dimuat di Yogyakarta sama Kunci, dan nanti ada e-book, buku elektronik yang akan tersedia di website kita. Yang bagaimana caranya? How should we explain the web page without me?
I think it's just now in the chat column, so you can say everything in English.
Okay, yes, so I just wanted to say that our book, the source book, is still in production with Kunci, the Kunci team in Yogyakarta, and it will be ready very soon, and an e-book will be available from a website that we've just set up, which is www.wayang-ecology.com. So you can look us up, and the web address is in the chat section of this meeting. Mariana, anything else you want to add?
And the book will be free, gratis.
Yes, of course. Yes, available to
everyone. Can download it.
Yes, so we thank you very much, and thank you very much to the whole research team and to everybody who's collaborated, and to our funders, and to everyone who's shown such an interest in this project. So thank you for coming today. Terima kasih banyak.
Thank you once again.
Terima kasih.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mariana.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Terima kasih.